Didn't have time for dinner tonight.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you're right. I'm not gonna argue any of that.
Do you want to do a
Dude.
recap?
You know,
of the
Clay, that's where
spring
you start
cleanup?
getting to the point that you're
A masochist.
a little beyond, yeah, my capabilities.
Right, I remember you and I talked a year ago, you're like, hey, give it a week, it'll blow over, and I'm like, oh.
Good, how you been?
it's perfect.
Good to be here in person.
Well, these are nice. These little,
Yes.
More normal.
these are real nice.
Yeah,
Although,
more
again,
normal.
they're perfect for what we do. Not a
Yeah.
lot of capability. If you're trying to use it
March
as a,
third is my second.
Look at it. Look at a packet. They don't have a big brain.
they don't, no, they
Yeah,
don't.
I think so.
Which is why I've got a tablet that I use for reading at the gym,
Mhm,
these companies. And I tried to use it as my laptop, just doesn't have the horsepower.
mhm.
It would just be the blank, just the Bartonville logo.
Last Friday, we went to a restaurant. All the people were, oh,
Okay. Guys, you're about to get the time being 6:30.
Where's Jeff? Is he not coming?
He's on his way.
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, time being 6:30, call this regular meeting minute to order. Closed session, town council to convene into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Section 551.071, and Section 551.074, to discuss matters relating to consultation with town attorney and personnel as follows. Consultation with town attorney regarding legal issues related to town's extraterritorial jurisdiction. B, consultation with town attorney regarding legal issues related to development agreement and economic development agreement between the town of Bartonville and Newquest Properties, town ordinance number 411-06 and related matters. Item number C, deliberate and consider the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of public officers or employees, to wit, town administrator. Time being 6:31, we are convened in closed session. Extraterritorial jurisdiction. So the last conversation, yes. Oh. Sorry, Tammy.
You're good. That is off.
Hey, where's our video thing? Where's our?
And you would think with COVID, that'd be the last thing that they would want to do is get everybody out of work and jobs and so forth. And how they can raise us.
I'm gonna make it crazy.
Oh, are you sure? Thank you. That's all I need is a time. I made lasagna and left it with my family. Walked away. Should have brought it here. How are you doing, Clay?
Hey, hey, you.
Thank you, sir.
Strange, how you doing, buddy?
Jim, how are you? Good to see you, my friend.
Your ears are burning. I was talking about you today.
No, no.
Made it nice for a while.
Okay, and guys, we're getting ready. I know everybody just walked in. If you've got anything that you want to put onto public participation, please go ahead and get it added fairly quickly. Okay, time being 7:19, we are reconvened into open session. Tammy, are we ready from a video perspective, ma'am? Okay, great, thank you. Town council to reconvene into open meeting and consider actions, if any, on items discussed in closed session. No action taken. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Edmondson, very good to see you, ma'am. So the floor is yours, ma'am.
Giving me some time to talk to you this evening. And we had a lovely conversation out in the wind for a while. They all kept us entertained. Thank you. Okay. Do we have the? Okay. This one? What I'm going to do is, it's here. You're fine. I'm just going to make sure I'm talking about the right slide.
Yes, and we want to show it on
There we go.
on digits so that the people from home can see it as well.
Is it all right if I take my mask off while I'm
Absolutely,
speaking?
ma'am.
I think you will understand me a lot better. Thank you so much. Well, again, Mayor, thank you for having me here tonight. This is, according to the National Association of Counties, National County Government Month. And so we've been charged with trying to tell our constituents about county government, what we do and don't do. And I'm going to be presenting this presentation to nearly 18 municipalities here in my precinct. There's one, the mayor won't give us his phone number or his email address. So we probably won't be presenting to him. It's not this one. We have a very cooperative mayor.
I was about to say, you're very good at tracking me down.
Yes, I do have that cell phone number. Now, the next slide shows us what the precinct boundaries are for Commissioners Court. And as you can see, there are 4 commissioners precincts. This is the same in all 254 counties in Texas. All of us have 4 precincts for commissioners, roughly equal in population, or they will be when we finish redistricting them this year. They all have 4 county commissioners and 1 county judge. no matter how large or small that county is. As you can see, we have very large precincts in 4 and 1. That's because we have a large geographic area. In mine, I've got about 500 lane miles, and our main responsibility is to those county roads, not to city streets, not to state roads, not to federal roads, but to the county roads. That's the main responsibility by state law and by our Constitution. Now, I have been in office since January of 2019, so I'm a little more than halfway through my first term. And I'd like to tell you just a couple of things that we've done. We started these quarterly road updates I think some of you have been to. We only got to hold 2 or 3 of those in the community room at the courthouse up here on 377, and then COVID came. And so we have discontinued those. However, we do hope to reinstate them maybe in the fall. We'll see how everything's going. In the meantime, I have been interacting with Precinct 4 town and city officials. Isn't that right, Mayor?
Yes,
We
ma'am.
have interacted for sure. One of the things I'm most proud about is that we have lowered the residents' taxes through a couple of processes. The first happened in my first year on the court. I have campaigned on the idea that I thought we should have a freeze in taxes for senior citizens, and we were able to make that happen. So as of 2019, whatever, if you're 65 or older, or if you are disabled under the state statutes, whatever your county taxes were at that time, dollar-wise, will never go up, never. We can't change it. It'll always be that amount and no more. Now, we can lower it at some point in time if we all win the lottery or whatever, but we can never raise those taxes. The next year, we decided to help all the rest of the citizens, not just the seniors, but we wanted to add a homestead exemption that would apply to the county taxes. I did not realize that we didn't have one until I became a commissioner. And I think it's very important. It's not a lot. Whatever your homestead exemption is, it will be reduced by $5,000 minimum. So if instead of $550,000, it would be $545,000, which will help a little bit when your taxes are figured. Again, that can never be taken away. It can always be increased. We can never lower that. I think it's important for us to realize that we are very conscious on Commissioners Court of the taxes that our residents have to pay, because that is our main source of income. And I also did complete more than 16 miles of road and bridge reconstruction and paving projects since I've been in office. Now on our next slide, you'll see that we are talking about one of the oldest forms of government tonight, county governments. These actually date back to 1634 in Virginia, and back on the East Coast, some of them were called shires rather than counties. Denton County, established in 1846 with 254 Texas counties. Today, 3,069 U.S. counties are chartered by state law and or their constitutions, and they're tailored to meet the needs and characteristics of their local entities. Just like here in Denton County, we're dealing with some things that they don't deal with in, let's say, Hidalgo County. April has been designated as County Government Month, so it was a perfect time for us to talk to you about Denton County and to celebrate some of our award-winning departments. I'd like to share with you just for a second about some of those awards. The first is our Budget Department, Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting by the Government Finance Officers Association. That's a long one, but it's very important. And frankly, this award has been received every year for the last 28 years by our Budget Department. Not far behind is our Purchasing Department, who received their Award of Excellence for the 25th consecutive year. This year, our Veterans Affairs Office received the 2020 Congressional Veteran Commendation. And our Denton County Health Department has national accreditation from the Public Health Accreditation Board. It's one of only 5 such agencies in the country to receive this award since its inception. So our health department is something we're very proud of. And of course, I know you all have heard about the Texas Motor Speedway vaccination clinics. This was purely the creation of our Denton County Health Department, and they have done a magnificent job in vaccinating masses of people. It's so successful that we're used as the model, even now by the White House, for FEMA and other sites. Every one of our clinics takes at least 400 people to staff it. And so we have used a lot of volunteers. The Denton County Medical Reserve Corps has received commendations for that. We couldn't have done it without those volunteers. So could you see if there's a water? I'm sorry, I should have. Thank you. Sorry, just a sec. We became a state designated hub for the COVID vaccine in January of 21, January 28th. And since that time, over 500,000 people have registered at our portal, over 500,000. As a hub, we can't specify that you must live in our county. We have to take registrations from all over. We even had some people come from other states who registered on our hub and were required to vaccinate them. We have given more than 325,000 vaccinations, most of them at Texas Motor Speedway. And at this point in time, we have worked through a list that at one point included over 500,000 people. We're down to where there are only about 230 registrants who have not yet been scheduled to get their vaccine. I think that's just amazing. And we're so proud of that. We're telling people now, if you haven't gotten a vaccine and you want it, register now. You'll probably be vaccinated in just a few days. These clinics were staffed by thousands of volunteers and hundreds of our county employees. Now, as we were dealing with this, we felt that communication was the key because we had to let y'all know what was going on and y'all needed to know from us what was going on. So we held weekly meetings with more than 80 state, municipal, chamber, and school officials. Mayor, I know you were in on some of those phone calls. We also keep Denton County community updated through news releases, newsletters, and all social media platforms. I think all of you on the council are receiving my little periodic e-newsletter. If not, please sign up for it. If any of you in the audience are not getting it and would like to have it, it's free to everybody. And we just try to keep people abreast of what's going on. We received from the federal government under President Trump $147.7 million in CARES funds, and this was strictly to fight the pandemic. We will be receiving an additional $172 million from the American Rescue Plan, which is President Biden's funds. So a total of about $330 million in federal dollars that came here for us to help take care of COVID consequences. So how did we spend $147 million? And how are we going to spend $172 million? Well, the first thing we decided to do, and again, we were told by the feds what we could and couldn't use it on, and we needed to be able to use it on people who were directly affected by the COVID pandemic. So we decided rather than reinventing the wheel, we would work with an agency that was already established and working with nonprofits who help people. So we went with the United Way. And through them, we distributed $2.1 million to 54 local nonprofits. Now, what happened was that we set up with CoServe. They allowed us to use some of their software, which was just awesome. We didn't have to purchase that. And we created an online portal for these nonprofits to make application. And then we had a committee that included Dawn Cobb, who is our communications director, who has been on the board of United Way in the past. And they had criteria which these nonprofits had to meet in order to be eligible under the federal funds. So we were very, very pleased with the way that turned out. And these grants included staffing, personal protection equipment, and operations. It was something that we felt was the first step that we could do to have this money trickle down to those who really needed it. We felt we had to address three basic needs, human needs. The first one is food. We were amazed to learn that the food banks in Denton County had experienced a 500% growth in demand. Think about that, 500%. So we felt we had to begin dealing with that. So we provided back in 2020, we provided 20,000 turkeys and hams for Thanksgiving and Christmas holiday meals. We provided more than 35,000 boxes of fresh fruits and vegetables for various food pantries. And one thing that was interesting, some of these pantries told us, well, thank you, but we really can't store these. We don't have any refrigeration. So we were able to buy some refrigeration systems for some of these food pantries, which will enable them for a long time to be able to offer some healthy, fresh foods. And we spent $4 million for food insecurity to keep local families from wondering where their next meal was going to come from. The second human need that we wanted to address was shelter. With our housing relief, we had $6.5 million that we spent. 4,242 households were provided with 7,180 months of rent, mortgage, and utilities, assisting families in 32 municipalities here in Benton County. One thing that you'll find interesting, we felt it would not be really a good idea to give this money directly to the renters. We wanted to make sure that the landlords understood, number one, they couldn't charge any late fees of any kind. But we also know many landlords are small business people basically, and they own these properties and depend on the rents to make the payments on. So we made these payments through United Way go directly to those landlords. And it's something that I think is a really smart thing to do. We also know that the third thing that everybody needs besides food and shelter is a job, a way to pay for what their family needs. So we started a unique grant program for businesses. We knew that under the governor's shutdown orders that we had to follow them and shut down some Benton County businesses. We hated doing that. We didn't want to do it, but we had to follow the governor's directives. So what we wanted to do with our business grants was to first try to help those who might have been injured or harmed by the shutdown that we had ordered at the governor's direction. So we ended up dispersing almost $39 million to 2,454 local businesses. And we had, again, a portal for that. There were criteria they had to meet. They had to show a loss. They had to be a business, if possible. We wanted to start with the ones that we had shut down, beauty shops or bars, that kind of thing. Although we did give preference to beauty shops over bars. I'll just tell you, we have some good Baptists on Commissioner's Court. But at any rate, we could give an award of up to $50,000. The average grant was $25,357, and that was for both phases 1 and 2. We had applications for phase 1 starting on May 20th, and again, we had 2,454 businesses that received grants from these monies. Now, just so you know, we have to keep an exact accounting of every dollar that came in and every dollar that went out. We will be audited, and if there was anything wrong, we would have to give the money back to the federal government. Well, y'all, who wants to give any money back to the federal government? We want to make sure it was done right. So we worked very hard with our auditor to make sure that every penny is accounted for. In addition to the United Way and the landlords, we also were told that we should share with our municipalities, and we did. We were glad to do that. There were actually 14 municipalities here in Precinct 4 that received funding from us, including Bartonville at $95,800, if I remember correctly. And I'm sure you're on the chart. So what happened when Uncle Sam came home? He'll be on there. He is. Now, you all know I'm a fiscal conservative, but we also knew that if we didn't take this $147.7 million, he would go give it to somebody else, more likely a place that wouldn't spend it as wisely as Denton County would. So we took those. And then we're also going to take the $172 million that's coming for a total of about $319 million. That's kind of a fortuitous number because the Denton County budget that we're operating on right now in 2021 is $319 million. So that was very helpful to us. And again, we are using these funds to help people, businesses, nonprofits who were affected by this pandemic. Our fiscally conservative budget is shown here. We are at $319 million, and that was a reduction of $8 million from what was originally requested by our various departments. We've got about 1,800 employees, and this increase of $2.7 million of the original amount meant that we could have a lower tax rate adopted than what we had in the year before. I think that's important for you to know that we are trying every way we can to keep your taxes as property owners as low as possible. And then that homestead exemption helps a little bit. As times get better, and they will, then we may look at increasing the amount of that homestead exemption. One of the neighboring municipalities, for example, has, I think, a 15%. But they have a different situation than we do. Let's talk about what we use this money for. This chart is very easy to understand. Out of our total revenue of about almost $319 million, most of it comes from property taxes, and that's 76.5% of it. When I was campaigning for this office, I became aware that when you look at the total property taxes paid to Denton County, about 80% of them are paid by you, by homeowners, by me, whereas only about 20% are paid by businesses. And I thought, gee, wouldn't it be nice if that were a little more balanced? So that's why we have such a strong push for economic development to help us get more of the burden onto some businesses and maybe a little bit less on the homeowners, which will, I hope, let us lower our taxes. And you can see there are a few other smaller sources, but property tax is our main source of income. Now, we asked the Denton CAD to give us the average home value here in Denton County, and it is $341,090. Now, you can see out of that, their total taxes are paid $77.95, and of that, the school district takes the lion's share at almost 65%. A city tax, and here we use the city of Denton just for illustrative purposes, and theirs is about 26%. And then down in the corner, way far right-hand corner, is Denton County with about 10%. So of all the property taxes that you pay, only about 10% of it actually comes to the county to help us do things like roads and bridges and public safety, et cetera. To look at it another way, here it is on a monthly basis for that same property owner, $650 in monthly taxes if they're doing it monthly, and we get $64, the school district about $418, and the city of Denton, if you live there, $168. The next chart shows how we rank with our fellow counties. These are the top 15 counties population-wise and by county, by countywide tax rate, not by population. You can see there on the far left, Denton County is the lowest. We're lower than Collin County. All these others around here, Williamson, Fort Bend, we are lower than Tarrant County, Dallas County, Bexar County, El Paso County, and certainly Hidalgo County. Hidalgo County down in the valley, as you can see, has a huge tax rate. It's 90 cents. So we're very fiscally conservative, and yet we're trying to do a great job. And I'm proud of the departments, like the ones that I told you about, that are award-winning. They're doing their jobs so well. So I think we're spending your money wisely. Now let's look at how we spent that money. Again, the largest share, about 31%, is for public safety. That's how we fund the sheriff's department, the constables, that kind of thing. Public safety is our #1 mission. We have to have that. And you can see we get a very small portion really for road and bridges. That's just down there at about 4.9%, I think. My copy's a little bit blurred. We have a lot of different needs that the county has and that we're required to handle. So just know that the public safety always is #1. In fact, the next slide will show you all the different services that we have to provide by state law or by constitution. These are mandated. It doesn't tell us how much we have to give any of them, but we are mandated to provide these. And if we fail to, the county can be sued and forced to provide these things. When I first became a commissioner, I went to what they call the baby commissioner school. We're required to have 16 hours every year of professional training. And one of the things that I learned for the first time was that the county is responsible for public health and welfare. And I didn't really know that. I thought, well, you know, there's indigent health care, and yes, I can see that we should be responsible for that. They failed to mention the word COVID or pandemic when I was in that training class. And we found out very quickly that public health is a lot more than what I had thought it was. And I'm so proud of the way our health department has just pivoted and has been able to jump in and provide what we need in a very, very good fashion. I've been out several times to Texas Motor Speedway to help volunteer out there. And when you go out, when you go out there, it's a good feeling. It's not like people are sad and oh my gosh, I've got to go get a shot. They're happy. We've had people cry when they get their vaccine. So it's just, we're delighted that it's going so well. And we know we're required to do it, but we think we did it much better than anybody thought that we would be able to. One last thing that I want to talk to you about is boards and commissions. This is something the commissioners also appoint. And there's a list of the boards and commissions that we have in Benton County. Now, we don't have any openings right now, but if any of you are interested, let me know. I'd love to have your resume, and we'll see if there was something that might come up in the future that we could appoint you to. Now, the last, this slide is about the elephant in the room, which is the explosive growth that we've got here in Benton County. As you know, depending on which periodical you read, we're either the fastest growing or one of the fastest growing counties in the entire country. And this explosive growth demands more services. 82 people a day move into Benton County. And I'll bet some of them move here into Bartonville. They are estimating that our population in 2019 was 887,207. And by 2023, just 2 years away, we will be 1 million or more. Just here in Precinct 4, we have at least 40,000 new homes that have been platted or are planning on being built. They haven't necessarily started yet, but as they finish their construction, it will bring me at least 140,000 new residents. And again, all of them need county services as well as city services. We know that here in the county, we have been prohibited by the State Judicial Commission from having in-person jury trials and things like that. So all of our courts have gotten backed up. Once that is lifted, which we expect to happen this fall, it's going to be just a surge of cases that have not been able to be heard. We also know even without that backup, that there is a big need in Benton County for another district court and for another court, which we feel we will be getting. The legislature seems to be approving them. The second court is a county court at law, which will act as a probate court, but will also have jurisdiction for other things that county courts at law do, like misdemeanors, etc. So we know that those are things, and again, every new court costs $1 million to staff, to fund initially, etc. So we know that that's necessary. We have some departments that are going to need additional personnel. So we're going to be looking at quite an interesting budget starting October 1st. We're in budget sessions right now. We knew that we're going to make some changes, and so we've tried to do that in a way that's beneficial to everyone. First of all, we created a deputy county administrator, and this is a person who reports directly to the court, and he is in charge of transportation and engineering, emergency services, planning and development departments. No longer are the county commissioners road commissioners. We are now just a county commissioner who will advocate for precincts, for our precinct and projects that they might need, but the Department of Engineering and Transportation will be making all those final decisions. We think that will benefit the county as a whole because you have one unified place to go, and there's not any competition between the precincts as to who gets the next big project. So I think that will be beneficial for everyone. We also have some regional projects that we want to be looking at, and we do partnerships with, we've been in partnership with Bartonville for some things, and we will continue to do that. But just please understand, Precinct 4 is out of money. We have no bond money. It's all been expended on the bond projects that was floated for. And so we are at the point where we are considering perhaps floating another bond issue. We haven't made that decision yet. I would love to hear from y'all if you have some suggestions for if we do one, what you might like to see on it, because we'd like input from all of our municipalities. And real honestly, if we decide to float a bond issue, we're going to need your help, because you need to help educate your citizens as to why it would be a good thing to do it. So please let me know what your projects might be. On my last slide, you can see what my philosophy is, and that's partnership is key. We've got 18 municipalities here in Precinct 4. They have varying needs, challenges, and governing bodies. But working together, we can definitely make this, our part of Benton County, a great place to live, work, and play. And I'm very eager to continue being your partner as we move forward together. Are there any questions?
So when you talk about municipal tax rates, again, you can talk about Denton with their high tax rate, or you can talk about Bartonville with the lowest tax rate in the county. That's a paid political announcement from the town. So
And I'm sorry, I didn't think to change my slide before I got there.
no, you're all good. And that was great. I will tell you that, You know, we've had a couple of council members. I know Councilmember Trailer went out there and volunteered at the Speedway a couple of times.
Thank you, Jeff.
So we've had some stuff there. You know, I look at the money the county gave us. We actually, this council voted to help out the emergency services district and provided some of that funding to them as they were being hit by significant COVID resources, either having COVID or being put on relief. One of the things that was nice about, again, just what this council has done, and I don't want to take away from the county stuff, but we went into the pandemic and we were able to stare all of our staff in the eye and say, you're not going to be impacted. We had enough money set aside in the emergency funds that we knew that was not going to impact any of the staff who got. And again, we think about it where we are right now, but think about where we were a year ago when the county started doing some of these things and we started doing some of these things. It was just, again, that was when things were a lot more difficult. It was a lot less clear. And we were able to make that commitment because this council has been very, quite frankly, conservative in their spending. And we've been very fortunate. Bartonville's taxes were up last year. Even in the middle of all of this, all of our businesses very well. We partnered with our businesses. Sometimes that partnership was a little rougher than others as they kind of were pushing some of the rules that existed at any point in time a little far. We reeled them back in, but we also made sure that there was always a partnership with those councils, as the county did with us. So again, it was we appreciate you doing this. I learned a lot. I will tell you the Veterans Affairs Department, I used that personally again several years ago. They are phenomenal.
They have come a long way from what they used to be, so we're very proud of them.
So
Thank you all so much for letting me come tonight. It's a pleasure to see each of you. Let me know if there's ever anything that I can do for you. Thank you so much, and
great.
I'm sure I'll see
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you,
again.
Commissioner.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay, public participation. Del Noller.
Okay. Update. I'm a little slow. It's because my Provision hadn't kicked in yet. So anyway, I'm down over 739 Seals Road, Bartonville, Texas. And I want to update you quickly, if I can, on what has happened with the Lake Ralph Hall project. News announcement, construction starts this summer. Upper Trinity awards contracts for Lake Ralph Hall project. Now, as you probably know, you're serviced by two different water companies, Cross Timbers and Argyle, both of which are participants with Upper Trinity and get part of their water, if not half of it or more. The Lake Ralph Hall project was up on the Silver River, North Silver River, north of LaDonna in Franklin, Fannin County. We've been at it for 20 years now. I've been on the finance committee, I think 10 or more, and it just seemed to go on, next government forum, this, that, and the other. But we finally got it all approved. We will be bringing out 35 million gallons of water a day to 29 communities that we service. The lake is called Ralph Hall, which was a long time congressman from up there. And the dam is called Leon Hurst, which is the mayor forever. We service 325,000 customers. They say, I don't know whether it agrees with Diane's or not, that our population is to expand within their area by 5 times in the next 50 years. Initial cost that we approved last meeting was 160 million to just get the thing started. With material costs and all that's changing daily, it's hard to tell what the final cost would be, but I guess at least 500 million or maybe more. The dam is actually 2.3 million miles long by 100 foot tall. And we'll have water flowing through to you in 6 years. That's the projection we have. And so I did this quickly, didn't I?
Did well, Del.
Okay. And if you got any questions, give me a call and we can discuss it. There are other things, obviously, but you did get one of these in your folder that you can read in detail.
Terrific. Thank you, Dale.
Thank you.
Appointed representative and liaison reports. Jim, Benton County Emergency Services.
Distinguished councilmen and women. The ESD #1 report for March incident types occurred was 228. Breakdown is 142 and 86. The number beside it is a comparison to the prior month where you see it was up 130 additional due to the many ice incidents that we had. Dispatch to en route, in other words, lights to siren running out the door, 59 seconds. That's pretty amazing. Response time, dispatch to arrival, 7 minutes and 15 seconds, which is pretty amazing in itself. If you can just imagine leaving from here and driving over to Crawford Road or whatever, I can't do it in 7 minutes. Average time at the scene is 23 minutes, 31 seconds. For the month, we had 19 incidents, of which 321 are EMS caller injury without a vehicle accident or a medical emergency, if you will. We had 6, which is less than prior months, but we still had some people get sick. Just 2 curious notes here. It's just one apiece, but we got one. We had one for one unauthorized burning and one for authorized burning. You understand that, right? In other words, they got picked up and were given a fine because they didn't get a permit. But yet Sylvia, somebody called in on her because they were afraid the fire was going on their house, and they made a run out there just to make sure everything's okay. So it goes both ways. Just to give you an idea in regard to medical emergencies in our fellow communities, Argyle 19, some of the bigger ones, Denton 28, Lantana 29, and North Lakewood 18. ESD, some bullet points. The 554 is invalid assist. I just threw that in there also. ESD, some bullet points that came out from it. Pretty amazing here. 2 advanced EMS certifications were completed that included their training for critical care as flight paramedics. And you go, where's that ever going to come into play? Just all the technicalities in regards to the responsibilities and equipment and the medicines that they will be using. It certifies them to do so if they need to through the surgeon's direction or the doctor's direction. Assistant Chief Lugo completed his executive fire officer's certification, which is it's like getting a master's degree. It's pretty impressive. The saving of the horse story, I know it's been beat up. Anyway, we were told that he's still galloping with strong legs in England. They're just going crazy. I don't know. How many times can you watch it? In regard to monies, they are $356,000 short due to unresolved tax protest at the taxing district. Mr. and Ms. Eaton presented an AED machine to the fire district for saving his life. So in other words, giving so that others may live as well, which was a cheerful moment for them and also some of the EMTs that participated in it. ESD has already secured another CARES Act funding in the amount of $492,000. The previous one was $317,000, and that was forgiven. So this one hopefully will be forgiven also. If not, it's 30 years, 0% with a 10-year tail, whatever that means. And something that's pretty amazing, the ESD has volunteered to go and take care and administer the COVID vaccines to all the homebound in the entire county, not just our district, but the entire county. These will be your officers and whatever going out on their own time volunteering, or EMTs that are off duty going out and administering them. They're working with the county directly to do that. No other fire district is doing it, but we volunteered to do it. They volunteered to do so. Okay. Thank you.
So do we know if, and I forgot to ask the commissioner, the AEDs, so our police department has them. Sergeant Pendleton recently saved someone. But there was discussions about the county also getting, yes, I'm going to continue to beat that dead horse forever, Chief. But there was talk about the sheriff's department did not have them. So called up and talked to the commissioner, kind of was expressing the fact that probably didn't seem reasonable and fair. Did they ever make a decision to get AEDs? Do you know, Jim?
brought that up at DSD. That element. You want me to inquire during the next one? I'd be glad to talk to Mr. Carter.
I
about
can,
it.
I can give her a call again. I just,
Okay.
it was kind of a point of curiosity.
Oh, yeah.
Because in that particular case, 3 officers from 3 different departments shows up and only Bartonville had the equipment to save the man alive.
I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think Norfolk has one. With all their 8 or 9 patrol cars in the street. But of course, they're beefing up for their growth that's going on right now. It's just phenomenal over there.
Kim, thank you very much.
Thanks so much for allowing me to do this. Appreciate it.
Chief?
Mayor, council, staff. I hope you all have the monthly chart there. So the March statistics for self-initiated totals, which would include traffic stops and so forth. These are typically what the officer themselves initiate. It's not a dispatch call. So it's kind of what they're doing when they're not on a call. Looks like 322 total, the highest being traffic stops at 114. The next chart in front of you there is the rest of it, the rest of what we do, which that would be calls, which typically end up in a report. And those totaled 100. So if there's any of those that stick out, feel free to ask, and I'll try to.
Yeah, Chief, I'm just curious, you might help me understand. Each month when we get this report, you look at the administrative duty, that usually runs about 26%. And what is those administrative duties calls? What would that represent?
It's anything other than it's them checking out here at the office, at the building. Anything other than personal matters, restroom, meal breaks, whatever. They're typically doing something report related, investigatory, those types of things.
Those statistics that you have to keep track of, not only for these reports, but what you have to report somewhere to the county and the state as well.
Well, the crimes we do, the offenses we do, yes, and that goes to the state.
Would that gathering that information, would that be part of this 85? Would that be addition to it?
Well, they could be investigating a crime, doing a report here that's related to a particular offense, yes.
What would you think, just out of curiosity, what the percentage of their time is that's spent on doing that versus the other things of the duties?
As far as patrolling?
Yeah.
They spend quite a bit of time. It's going to be, I wouldn't hesitate to say at least 50% or maybe a little bit less than that, depending on the officer. Not every officer does reports because they don't generate a certain kind of activity. But some of the officers do tend to are more active, and we'll have to spend time here investigating the offense, doing the report.
I think more of that would be done during the daytime than what it would be on night duty.
Necessarily.
I was just curious because I've noticed that each month. I was curious what was involved in that report.
So what I've done now is I've set out a directive stating that they need to indicate exactly what it is they're doing when they're here on this administrative duty. There's a keyword that I can search to narrow that down to find out exactly how much time they're spending behind a computer or logging in evidence or whatever the case may be. I'll be able to nail that down and have a little more accurate time frame.
You can get a percentage, basically, on how much time they're spending up in administrative.
I can tell you how many hours they're spending here.
And with the LPRs now, does that add to your administrative to?
Oh, because we can get it on our phone, we get it on the computer in the car. I mean, if it's a particular offense or a hit and run or something like that, and we need to do some other investigation here, yeah, they'll be, no, that's a very small piece of it. Let's see. Any questions about the calls for service or any of that on that one sheet? Okay. So we had 5 crashes. Had one on South Gibbons, which was a hit and run with a mailbox. Then the rest of them were 407 related. We had one in the parking lot at 7-Eleven, one in the parking lot at Kroger, and we had one at Lantana Trail and 407. One of them which had injuries, the rest of them did. So the flock reads, I just got the totals this time instead of putting that graph in there to show you, because it's staying pretty consistent. We actually went up. For the month of March, we had 605,000. And I would say that's probably because things are opening up more than likely. And then February, we had 460,000. So that kind of gives you an idea. Of course, there were fewer days in February also. A little upcoming events, April 24th, which is this Saturday, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. is the DEA prescription drug take back. So if you know anybody that needs to drop anything off, feel free to come up here. They'll be in the parking lot. And then they will take all those, the DEA will take all of those. Actually, I think they box it up and then we take it to them at a later date and then they just dispose of it.
That's 10 to 2.
Sorry?
10 to 2.
10 to 2, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we'll take it from anybody, which we do anyway. May 15th, we have a blood drive at the Bartonville store from 1 to 7 p.m. So if you know anybody that's interested in participating, feel free to sign up for it. Other than that, any questions?
All right. Thank you very much, Chief. Town Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Actually, I will start off by handing the mic over to Tammy and she'll give a summary of the spring cleanup day.
We had the spring cleanup event on the 10th. We had shredding, our electronics recycling, trash, and our donation truck. It seemed a little slower this time go around, but we did have a shredding event and e-cycle event in the fall. So I think, and that was huge. We had a lot of e-cycling and shredding back in that event. There was also a lot of discussion that with everybody home with COVID, that they actually had to stop bulk pickup for a while because so many people were putting a lot of bulk supplies out at the beginning of COVID. So we think that might have slowed it down a little bit. But other than that, I think it was successful as it was every year.
Was it true that Councilman Sam's was a third of the drop-off?
I lost count.
I've been saving that up now for 4 years.
Say we're here for you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I did not keep count.
Tires, were there more tires in previous years?
There were many tires and we may have to put a limit on it next year. We haven't got our, there were over 188 tires.
I think one citizen brought about 50.
There were
They
over,
didn't
they
say
brought
that.
over 100 of the motorcycle
Motorcycle
tires. So we're
tires.
gonna have to put a, probably, depending on our bill, when we get that, we may have to.
When you get
Yeah.
the final bill, that's something that needs to come back to council. We need to kind of hear that.
Oh, I will report that for you.
Jamie, I just want to say, I know you were stressing out about the lack of people coming out, but you did a great job. You and Sylvia both through the communication, the setup. It was run smoothly. I think it was just the COVID. People had all summer staying at home, cleaning out their stuff, but you guys did a really nice job, as well organized. So thank you.
So I will continue on with the financial statement. So in the agenda packet is your monthly finance report and also your quarterly investment report for the quarter ending in March. For the financial report, some notes. March is the midpoint for the fiscal year. So that's 6 months into the fiscal year for 2021. I had a meeting with Denton County staff regarding the property tax revenues. You may see in the summary information that property tax collections have been slower recently. And so I reached out to see if that was an issue related specifically to Bartonville or if they could give any information regarding why the decrease in revenues. And so Denton County staff informed me that it's not specific to Bartonville. Collections across the board, across agencies, cities are down. And there's many factors to consider, but COVID being one of them. Because of COVID and the limited abilities to have protests and to have in-person meetings, processes are just extremely delayed right now. And so I inquired whether we should consider a budget amendment at this time. And she said no, because she expects for collections to be higher in these coming months compared to the months of the previous fiscal year because the processes have been delayed. So at this time, no budget amendment regarding property tax revenues, but I will continue to monitor that. For sales tax, up 16% compared to the same month last year. One thing to note for sales tax is that the reporting has been different, has been changed. So it used to be reported quarterly and now it's going to be reported monthly. So the percentages for, I'm sorry? Oh, for alcohol specifically. So the percentages compared to the month of the previous fiscal year will be slightly different because they were quarterly and now they're going to monthly. Also included franchise fees from Cross Timbers Water Supply total to a little over $10,000. And that is 2% of all water charges that are in Bartonville for the calendar year 2020. The quarterly investment report has interest earned of a little over $4,000. And the economic development payment total to a little over $111,000, and the breakdown for that payment is also included in your agenda packet. Moving on, for animal services, 11 standard activities. Engineering services in March, we had 3 plats, 2 grading and drainage permits, ongoing site plan review for a proposed coffee shop drive-through next to Marty B's. So that will be an upcoming item for council consideration in May. And ongoing work with the streets. The work order number 4 is still in progress. Some of the streets work has started up in the past couple of weeks, and in March we were able to complete the concrete joint ceiling. Permits in March, 8 residential permits, 6 contractor registrations, and 1 food establishment permit. Municipal court, we had 68 citations issued, 42 cleared with a total collection of over $14,000. And that concludes my report. Please let me know if I have any questions.
Thank you very much. Consent agenda. This agenda consists of non-controversial housekeeping items required by law. Items may be approved with a single motion. Items may be removed from the consent agenda by any council member by making such request prior to a motion and vote on the consent agenda. Item number 1, consider approval of the March 16, 2020 regular meeting minutes. Item number 2, consider approval of an interlocal cooperation agreement between Denton County and the town of Bartonville for shared governance, communications, and dispatch service system for fiscal year 2021 and 2022 in the amount of $6,025, and authorize the town administrator to execute the same on behalf of the town. Item number 3, consider approval of a resolution of the town of Bartonville appointing Del Noller as the town's representative to serve the Upper Trinity Regional Water District Board of Directors for a 4-year term ending May 31st, 2025. Item number 4, consider approval of a Bartonville Crime Control and Prevention District amended budget for fiscal year 2020-2021 for the purchase of flock safety equipment. Council, do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Public hearing. Public hearing to consider a ordinance amending the town of Bartonville Board of Ordinances, Chapter 14, Exhibit A, Article 14.02, Ordinance 361-05 zoning regulations for the town of Bartonville. Change the zoning designation of Dyer Estates Lot 4, containing approximately 4.732 acres from agricultural district to residential estates RE2. The tract of land is located at 975 Dyer Road, Bartonville, Texas. Staff presentation, please.
So just a quick summary, the applicant, Mr. Mont Wilkes, has requested to rezone the property from the current agriculture zoning to RE2. This is in line with our future land use plan. The applicant intends to subdivide the property into 2 lots, each with the minimum of 2 acres. And the Planning and Zoning Commission voted to recommend approval by a vote of 5-0 at their last meeting. The applicant is here if you have any additional questions.
Have any response from the public?
No.
Adjacent to this?
No comments received.
Time being 8:12, we opened this public hearing. Do we have anyone that wants to speak in favor? Do we have anyone that wants to speak opposed? Okay. Time being 8:12, we are adjourned. Closed public hearing, council discussions.
It's accordance with Laney's plan. No objections from the neighbors. No issues.
Council, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance amending the town of Bartonville Code of Ordinance, Chapter 14, Exhibit A, Article 14.02, Ordinance 361-05, zoning regulations for the town of Bartonville to change the zoning designation of Dire Estates Lot 4 containing approximately 4.732 acres from agricultural district to residential estates 2.
Thank you. Do we have a second? All, council, all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Item number 6, discuss and consider approval of the type of outdoor cooking equipment to be used at the Bartonville store as required by conditional use permit on Saturday, May 15th, 2020.
I'll give a quick summary of the item. So the Bartonville store has approached the town and has started the process for the special event permit and a temporary food establishment permit for the Bartonville Fest. Your agenda packet does include some information and a draft flyer of the event. Part of the event is a hot dog and chili cook-off. And so it's being presented to council because per their conditional use permit for the retail and restaurant use of the property, any outdoor cooking equipment needs to be reviewed and approved by town council. So the equipment that they propose to use, the chili will be prepared in commercial kitchens, but kept hot outside with propane and butane fueled equipment. And hot dogs will be prepared on an outdoor barbecue grill.
So really, the only outdoor cooking is the outdoor barbecue. Okay.
The applicant is
Tim?
here. If you'd like
Please.
to add any other items.
Apologize, I'm gonna keep Chef Michael informed of the progress of the meeting, and I gave him the 5-minute warning about 5 minutes too late. He may show up in a minute to tell you exactly the barbecue. I can pass these out. It's just give you an idea of what we're trying to do. This is our regular farm. Date. Just added these elements to these described. It's got this evening. This is the proposed t-shirt. I can say, highlight on the back, Texas tradition. And that concludes my presentation.
Nice.
Again, I apologize. Jeff is going to describe the cooking. But it is just as Sylvia has presented.
Well, as we wait for Chef Michael, I can give you a little more details about the event. It'll be Saturday, May 15th from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. They anticipate about 150 to 200 people in attendance. Like Tim mentioned, it's part of the farmers market, so there will be some farmers market vendors participating as well. And there will be a little bit of outside music. From what I hear, it'll be kind of a singer-songwriter microphone thing, but all within our noise ordinance and ending by 7 p.m.
So when we met with Tim earlier and Jeff Michael. Part of the discussion was, one is, again, making sure the neighbors were informed, making sure that, the amplification is all on their little small area. And again, it's minimal amplification with a standard acoustical guitar. And, an understanding that this is, if this does get approved, this is one of those things of gets approved this time, hopefully we can make it a recurring event, but a lot of that's going to be determined by feedback from the residents after the event. So have we been good neighbors through that process? And have we had any complaints of the Bartonville store from?
No, we had one complaint that was in January, but it was resolved very quickly.
Yes, again, you guys were very cooperative when that complaint was brought up and immediately resolved that. So we've seen Bartonville store be a good neighbor. They understand that the ability to be able to do these things is to continue to be a good neighbor. Tim, you're an honest guy, so again, I mean that's never an issue, but it's just always good to kind of throw out the history that we've had with you as an establishment.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And I just try to show my honest side here.
There you go.
Hey, also on that May the 15th, and Chief, you mentioned this, and I guess, Tim, this will affect you as well. That blood drive, is that from 1 to 7? Is that going to be there at the store? The same
That
facilities?
is at my
Going on at the same
understanding,
time?
and we are in coordination with the chief on that.
Good.
We've done this with you once or twice. Okay. So, we're trying to make this a community event that will grow, hopefully, not in size, but in popularity. However it works.
Can they volunteer to give blood at the same, without having to pre-register on the same day? That they would get the populace over there and pull them in and they can find blood from them.
Minor report.
Again, I'd emphasize this is a part of our normal farmer's market. And since Dale's here, I'd like to thank him. He brings his antique car down and helps us kind of promote the event whenever we do it. It's a nice little addition, so thank you.
That's a vehicle we bought in the 50s.
I don't know when he bought it. But not answering that.
So, council, any other questions or comments?
No.
Parking, traffic, safety, all that.
But yeah, that'll be coordinated through the special events permit. I believe we're still in discussions, but
Make sure everybody's safe. It sounds.
Yeah.
And we're looking, yeah, so looking at the parking, obviously they've got use of here, make some coordination with the neighbors there, make some coordination with their neighbors. And then if we do into a situation, looking for chief to respond, if we get to a point that we say, hey, we're gonna, we want to coordinate with the Kroger Center for parking, how do we make sure that the people can cross safely? So it's a great point, and chief's actually working on it.
Thank you all. Yes.
Great idea.
Is there a vote to be taken?
if council is okay.
There should be a vote.
Motion.
There should be a vote.
I'll make a motion that we approve the outdoor cooking equipment to be used at the Bartonville store on Saturday, May 15th.
Have a second. All in favor? Great, thank you, council.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Tim, thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Item number 7, discussion on nomination of slate of nominees for DENCO Area 911 District Board of Managers. So Sue Tamel, the former mayor of Copper Canyon, has requested our continued support for her. Yes, Mayor Sue. So she did that. She's done this for several years, and I will tell you, Chief, again, please provide your feedback, but I think they were a very, very good 911 service for the community. So this is a major passion of Sue's. She called me up and said, hey, I again, looking for your support again. I'm going, absolutely, let me talk to the council. And, again, you've done a good job for us. Our 911 does a phenomenal job, and they've added the texting capabilities and whatnot. So they've continued to evolve over the course of the years. This was just a discussion item. So is there anything else anybody would like to say?
So what will happen, the consensus of the council is that you nominate Sue Tamel, this will come back at the next meeting as a resolution nominating her. And then that'll get sent to Denco 911. After they make all their nominations, it'll come back again at another month for the council to vote on the nominations. It's a long
Everybody okay with
process.
this? Again, it's not a formal vote.
So if you're okay, then we'll come back next month with the resolution.
You're good. Thank you very much. Thank you, council. Item number 1, discuss and consider approval of a full-time court administrative position.
Just a quick summary from the discussions that were started last month. Staff was directed to bring back some more information, including a job description and a summary of duties for what it would look like if we made the court position full-time. So the proposed title presented is Court Clerk Administrative Specialist. And some of the primary responsibilities that this person would have include the administration of the municipal court, building permits, front desk reception, accounts payable, and administrative assistant duties. Included in your agenda packet is more information regarding the extent of the responsibilities related to the municipal court function. We also included the fiscal impact and the job posting that's currently online, and the summary of the current responsibilities shared between the town secretary and I. Let me know if you have any questions regarding any of the information or the fiscal impact.
I mean, at this time, in response,
My understanding is very few to date. If Tim, if you want to share more information on how it's
Are you looking for
posted.
request response for people wanting the position or for something? Well, we haven't approved, so have we posted it yet?
Well,
We haven't approved it yet.
we posted a preliminary
Okay.
posting to see what kind of responses we get, but without approval of the salary and everything that's going on, we've got very few applications that have come in.
Who's this role reported into?
Excuse me.
Who will the role report into?
Well, Sylvia is the town administrator, but they've
okay.
worked for
Oh,
both of us.
okay.
In line with the discussions of session planning.
So you said we've had very few come in. Why do you think we've had very few come in?
Well, depending on what we post for, depending on qualifications and the salary, what you allow us to post it at, and depending on the approval, then we can move forward, because we had it posted at a lower salary.
Got it.
this was just kind of like a feeder.
The original one was a feeler. This one is actually allows them to post the position and actually work to fill it.
We'll post it on, we'll post it, and we post it on the Texas Municipal League. We'll post it on the Texas Municipal Clerks and the Texas Municipal Courts website. So, and we put fillers out there through the Texas Municipal Court Clerks Association and the Texas Municipal Clerk, the city secretary. And through the first go around was salary was one of the hits, is why we wouldn't get any responses.
Salary is stated as part of this budget. You want to go into the details on that?
Sure, absolutely. So in the agenda packet is a suggested starting salary, depending on qualifications, of course, at $52,000. So you have information there on the fiscal impact section. The first column is the adopted for 2021, and that's based on $25 per hour at a part-time schedule. Then you have your year-to-date actual of what we've spent according to that budget line item to date. And then you have the proposed, which is really the fiscal impact. So if you'll allow me 1 second. So you'll see there a number of $46,000, and that equals to the 5 months of service at the suggested salary, plus the year-to-date actual spent. So the impact to 2021 fiscal year would be $8,000.
I will tell you, I for one am tired of driving here on Saturday and this car.
At the same location at the front desk.
46,215, is that right? Or what? County charges?
Sure. So the $46,000 is 5 months of service at the suggested salary of $52,000 plus the 20 to 21 year to date that we have spent.
So this is just covering this fiscal year, but the salary will be 52. So we'll see an uptick next year in salary plus benefits.
So yes, the full impact will be presented at the 21-22 fiscal year budget process.
And again, that's depending on qualifications.
Yeah, it could be less,
That's shown here, it's roughly 20K, 20,000.
but what is 20,000?
Well, I mean, if you add up adopted FY20, you've got a 38.1, but your salary is 52. So I'm assuming TMRS might be a little more. So you're roughly 27,000 more next year because we already have like a part-timer plan in the budget.
So the impact to this current fiscal
I'm
year
talking
will
about
be
next fiscal year.
that
roughly.
is the $34,000. That's the expected impact to 21-22. And that is taking the total costs of the salary at the suggested $52,000 and subtracting the adopted amount of $38,000.
So Josh, if we look at it from a perspective of what we look at it, she fully burdened is roughly, looks like 73, 74.
It's a little under $73,000 fully burdened.
I think we've established that there's a need. I mean, running 80 hours a week or more is not sustainable for our staff. I don't think it's a good environment to put them in. So I think it makes sense. And we're at a point where we've been responsible all along. Now it's time to take some action and help them out, I think.
It opens the door for vacations and take a moment, some mental health time. So for you guys, right, takes a little bit of the burden off. So
Come out here Saturday and you see that car sitting out there and then 4:30 in the afternoon, you say, well, it's still there. And go to Kroger's and come back at 6:15, still there. My wife says, don't she ever go home? And I said, no, that obviously she does. You got things to do. She tells me when I ask her about that, well, that's my job. Well, I'll tell you, we know that the need is there and we need to move not only for her benefit, but for the towns because nothing is forever. And we do need someone that we can fall back on should something happen to either one of those two, because right now that's what we have.
So, yeah, right now in the situation that we have no succession planning going on whatsoever. And yes, I'm with
Josh, you've already had a chance, anything to add?
No.
Okay, council, do we have a motion?
the agenda. We approve a full-time court administrative position.
Second,
second.
all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Future agenda items, May 12th, a special meeting to canvass election. Per state law, the election must be canvassed no later than the 11th day after the election. Per the election code, only 2 members of the governing body are needed for a quorum to canvass the election. There you go. So do we have any volunteers that will make the commitment again? If we don't, I'll make sure that I'm here. What time can we do it?
Pleasure.
Okay, so what time are you guys available? Is that a weekday?
It's Wednesday, May 12th.
Okay. What time?
That will take all of 5 minutes.
So that's asking a lot. But I mean, when are you guys back in town? You work and take practices.
I'm here. What time? Wednesday, May 12th at
5 o'clock? 5 o'clock work for you?
5, yeah.
I can adjust my schedule.
Yeah,
Okay.
that works. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and send out to everybody a meeting announcement that we're meeting here at 5 o'clock on 12.
Here.
Time being 8:32, we are adjourned. Thank you, council.
Hey, Mayor Council.
Thank you.
We're here, we're meeting here, sorry.
Yes.
Likewise, how you been?